Welcome back to Good Morning Geelong on this Friday morning, and joining me is a very familiar face, a lady from the City of Greater Geelong, Councillor Barbara Abley. Good morning, Barbara. How are you?
Good morning to you, and good morning to your listeners and your viewers.
Yeah, certainly is, Barbara. You've been a member of council now in your third term?
Yes, I've served 8 years for the City of Greater Geelong.
Now, what portfolios have you held prior to this current portfolio of arts and culture?
Well, I originally started off with arts and culture in my first year, then was mayor for 2 years, so I had governance and media and associated portfolios. Then I had economic development for 2 years, and then for 3 years I've had infrastructure, parks and gardens, and I've returned to arts and culture, which I find is very exciting.
So you've done the full circle.
Absolutely.
Is it fair to make some comparisons that in the world of arts and culture, the City of Greater Geelong, throughout the total community, has taken significant step forward?
It has. It's got a long way to go yet with regards to funding. I don't believe that Council's budget accurately reflects the interest and per capita, as certainly we fund sporting events, and it's my wish, and working with the cultural portfolio holder, who's Councillor Cameron Granger, we've had a meeting to discuss this very same thing. We're concerned that the funding of arts and cultural events comes nowhere near that which is provided for sporting events. So that's what our aim is going to be during this current term. We're determined to redress the inequity, we believe, in funding of arts and culture.
The general community interest seems to have been significantly lifted in the world of arts and culture, and again that's through great promotion and publicity, but also the facilities that we've got available with things like the Geelong Gallery, the National War Museum, and many other small but very significant areas of arts and culture around Geelong.
I would certainly agree with you, and I would certainly agree that the facilities are fantastic, but we've got to have appropriate officers and qualified and skilled officers within the City of Greater Geelong, and I believe that we certainly have that. Kaz Payton, who's our newly appointed Manager of Arts and Culture, has a strong theatrical background, and she's certainly right across film, as well as television, as well as arts, culture and museums. So, you know, Kaz runs a very tight department, but a very skilled department. We're looking forward to, for example, welcoming more exhibitions and more high-profile exhibitions to the National War Museum. And there'll be some exciting news coming out shortly with regards to some of the projects and some of the exhibitions we're going to be running there.
With Anzac Day tomorrow, April 25th, 2009, we've seen some interesting developments, and throughout this week, some down at the Geelong Historical Centre, a particular event occurred. Yes,
look, on Wednesday at 10:30, I was very fortunate to participate in the launch of and the acceptance of a project which has probably run more than a decade, and that has been largely driven by Glad McLaughlin, and Glad's very well known to communities around Geelong. Glad has actually finished a project which has incorporated the recording of oral stories from people across a number of decades, and on Wednesday morning we actually met two of the World War II nurses whom she has recorded their oral stories of their time during the Second World War. Two of them were actually in attendance. They were well enough to be in attendance, so I had the great pleasure of catching up with them and meeting them and installing the finished product, the finished project, on the shelves of the Heritage Centre, the Geelong Heritage Centre. So strongly recommend everybody's attention to, you know, going down and having a listen to the stories.
And while we mention the National Heritage Centre here in the Geelong Heritage Centre.
Yeah, Geelong Heritage Centre.
We'll get it right. It's not the National. Yeah. It may well be soon the National Heritage Centre.
We could call it the National. We could call it the Royal National.
Well,
Heritage Centre. Let's rename it.
Yeah, we get permission from Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. But one little thing about that, Barbara, is it is a hidden treasure here in our great city of Geelong, isn't it?
It is, and it's a great resource. I think when the plans for the redevelopment of the Geelong Library go ahead, certainly that will incorporate the Geelong Heritage Centre as well. It won't lose its identity, but the co-location of the two facilities will actually strengthen the role of the Heritage Centre. At 10:30 on Wednesday, we, as I alluded to before, the two World War nurses, World War II nurses, are going to be part of the launch of the acceptance of a project which Glad McLaughlin has been working on for more than a decade. Glad has done this project in concert with the old Geelong West City Council funding and also with the City of Greater Geelong funding, and she has interviewed a number of significant people around Geelong, including these two World War II nurses who have recounted the stories that they have about their experiences during their time serving with the armed forces in World War II. And of course it's Anzac Day tomorrow, so it was a good tie-in for the week leading up to the up to Anzac Day. So I'm really hoping that Geelong people will get an opportunity to come into the Heritage Centre and actually listen to the stories of these two very brave women.
And the other line that is significant in the operation of arts and culture throughout Geelong and a lot of these wonderful resources is the role of volunteers.
That's exactly right. Volunteers are very important. We know the worth and the well-being of a community is actually based on the strength of volunteerism within our community. So, of course, now you've got me saying it, the Heritage Centre, plus the National War Museum, plus many of the other facilities that are available for people are actually underpinned by the generosity of people's time. So, including yours. Including yours.
And
yeah.
we must say congratulations, the new face of Geelong in being the old Geelong Post Office clock has certainly come up absolutely magnificent.
I had a fantastic experience in being invited into the clock tower, climbing up a myriad of stairs and looking at the work that has been undertaken over the last 4 weeks by a Bendigo firm. They did a tremendous job replacing the patched and battered and cracked old glass. Was no mean feat, and it's very difficult because of the age of the clock and of the clock tower to actually get material that is more than 100 years old, but they were able to match it with an acrylic product called opalite, and anybody who's actually seen that clock tower now can read it many blocks away. If you're, for example, driving along Aberdeen Street and you're at the corner of Aberdeen and Packington Street, you can actually read the clock tower face. You can actually read what time it is, and that's been very difficult in the past at night time. So I'd encourage people to go along and have a look at that great treasure and just read the foundation stone, which is on the Jerringham Street side of the old Geelong Post Office, and it tells you the full story about how that tower was erected and how the clock was paid for by the citizens of Geelong many years ago.
Councillor Barbara Abley, currently the portfolio holder for Arts and Culture. Thank you very much again for your valuable time this morning on Good Morning Geelong. You have a great week ahead of you, and I'm sure that we'll be talking to you in the not too distant future about further areas of development in our city of Greater Geelong and the world of arts and culture.
Be absolutely delighted to talk. As you know, I like talking, and talking up arts and culture in Geelong is very important for me, and it's important for the city too. Thanks for having me on.
Councillor Barbara Abley here on Good Morning Geelong as we go to a break and be back after this.